Hi, everyone. My name is Larry Locke. I use he, him pronouns. I'm the publication coordinator for the Journal of College Student Development. And I have here with me my friend, Dr. Christa Porter. And Dr. Christa Porter just wrote an RIB earlier this year in 63-1 titled Reimagining Belonging. Black women want more than survival at a predominantly white institution. And Christa, Dr. Porter, is there anything you want to introduce about yourself before I ask you a couple questions?
Sure. I am at Kent State University, excited to be with you, and you can call me Christa.
Okay.
But yeah, absolutely a privilege to sit and chat with you today.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Christa, why this topic and why now?
Thank you, Larry. So we hear in higher ed as masters and doctoral students and faculty, right, this idea of belonging. And more, even I would say academic administrators and student affairs administrators are talking about belonging. And so, of course, we learn, about Terrell Strayhorn and sort of Hurtado and Carter and sort of what belonging is and Maslow, right? But there's not been, in my work, in my research, there was not sort of this conversation around particularly Black women, right? We were seeing other folks of color, we were seeing white students, we were seeing first-gen students in this idea of belonging. And so I happened to do a multi-institutional study with my colleague, Dr. Janice Bird, and there was a piece of data, right, that came up really strongly in one particular institution. And so I said, I need to dig deeper into this. And so this is where it came from, one particular focus group at one particular selective private institution that I wanted to do something with, but wasn't quite sure what to do with.
So what were some of the most interesting outcomes from your work in this article?
So within the focus group that I talk about in the article, I think it's really important for when it comes to Black women, belonging isn't just belonging, right? It isn't just me belonging to a space. It is an understanding that there's a historical legacy of marginalization at predominantly white institutions. And so I sort of trouble the question, how can Black women belong in a place that wasn't meant for them in the first place? And how can they belong to a place where they're not seeing themselves, they're experiencing microaggressions, they're experiencing marginalization all up through and out, right, of the institutional spaces. And so I sort of couple it with mattering. Can folks of color, and specifically Black women, belong in a place where they actually never meant to matter?
So the research and brief section where your article was submitted and we published in JCSD, it's a rather short piece. It's 9 pages. Why did you choose to go with the research and brief for such a large topic?
Yeah, and some of the reviewers, I have to shout out to Jay and other reviewers who reviewed the piece. I got that question, right? This is powerful. It's so cool to bring in Bettina Love's work, which is typically K-12, but I coupled her work with Patricia Hill Collins' Black feminist thought, and particularly outsider within status, right? And so that was a question. Why not a full article? And so for me, it was an opportunity to play with frameworks. One, to play with frameworks, and two, to not capture a whole bunch of data, but to really focus in on one particular focus group, a conversation that was absolutely relevant, but not necessarily generalizable across the various focus groups. Not saying that qual data should be generalizable, but it wasn't saturated, right? But it was so valuable to this conversation on belonging. And so I have to admit, I struggled with getting it down to 9 pages, but I think some of it would have been lost if I would have went to 25 pages or 10,000 words. And so I was able to really center in on the framework as well as this small chunk of data and really highlight both at the same time in the 9 pages.
Do you, after going through the process of publishing with the RIP and JCSD, do you have any advice that you would give to other scholars who are thinking about submitting?
Absolutely. One is, unfortunately and realistically, right, in the academy, institutions may look at longer articles or sort of full-length articles. They may weigh that heavier, right, as folks are going up for TMP or reappointment. But that didn't matter to me because I really value JCSD as a journal, and I valued the piece, right? And like I said before, I thought some of the concepts would be lost if I tried to sort of make it a longer piece. And so that was one thing, is if any way you can sort of get that out of your head to, oh, well, it's only 9 pages. No, it's 9 pages in JCSD, right? So that's the first thing. And then the second thing, and I will say I'm a little bit more privileged because I am further along and recently, just attained tenure and promotion. So I will put that out there. The second thing is you get to play with being concise. You really get the opportunity to to center a particular amount of data, right? In this case, it was a focus group, and highlight it, right? You don't have to do as much sort of literature review on the front end, and you don't have to do as many implications on the back end. You can really center, right, what you're trying to center. And it hit, right? And I really am appreciative of the opportunity.
Well, we're appreciative that you submitted and worked with us. Christa, do you have any final words before we end today?
Again, shouting out to the review team. The feedback was valuable, right? And again, I had to sort of tease out well, make this longer. No, I don't want to make it longer. So that's the piece. I really appreciated Jay and folks. And then you get to try some things, right? You want it in, if you have something around development and identity, playing with some frameworks and mixing some frameworks together, particularly for those of us who consider ourselves critical qualitative scholars or quantitative scholars or mixed methods folks, right? This gives you an opportunity to do that, to really shed light on a particular topic, and to still have a really valuable piece and make a significant contribution to our scholarship.
Wow. Well, thank you again. I'll put the link to Christa's article in the YouTube video description. And I hope you watch a few more of these and meet some other great authors.
Thank you, Larry. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you.